Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Thank you and welcome once again, my friends, to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur party swashbuckler. And welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting talk and music shows throughout the day. All we do is entertain, inspire, and inform. And I want you, my friends, to be part of the conversation. So, find me on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on the Rizzle, on the Cameo, and even at Anchor.fm at Colt S. Taylor. Especially that last one, in case you've missed previous shows, where you can subscribe to the podcast version of the show, usually available later on Sundays. And, of course, if you haven't already, find me also at ColtSebastianTaylor.com. All right, friends, let's get started with this week's Saturday Report. First up this week, friends, time for an update from earlier this year. As you may remember, after every election, they have the official electoral count in Washington, D.C. Well, this year, things went a bit awry when a bunch of people gave themselves an unguided self-tour of the Capitol during this time. Also, some people call it an insurrection/riot. What it definitely wasn't legal. So you're trespassing. If you think that it's the people's house, you're allowed to go there whenever you want, you have a serious misunderstanding of what federal property is. Well, anyways, lots of people went there, started a riot, tried to overturn the election. Some people call them insurrectionists. I call them slack-jawed yokel insurrectionists. Anyways, a lot of them were surprised that they got charged with various crimes. I guess that they thought if they went into a building that has a lot of CCTV, closed-circuit cameras that are very digital, that is one of the most watched buildings in the world, while live streaming themselves, telegraphing the revolution across the World Wide Web, announcing who they are and what they're doing, that maybe the authorities would catch up with them. Well, one special person trying to televise the revolution was the name of Jennifer Lee Ryan. She is a real estate broker, and she flew a group of people on her private plane, or she chartered a private plane, but she took a private plane to the Capitol from Denton, Texas, and posted herself in front of broken windows. Cameras caught her going into the Capitol. She felt that she should be there. To quote her in her statement, she said she also said on Twitter, "We just stormed the Capitol. It was one of the best days of my life." And then when she got back in January and oh geez, maybe this wasn't such a great idea, she sort of absolved herself of any crime by saying, "I feel like I was basically following my president. I was there. I was following what we were called to do. He asked us to fly there. He asked us to be there." And then she thought that she deserved a pardon from the president of the time, Donald Trump. Fun fact, didn't happen. So in March, she tweeted, "Definitely not going to jail. Sorry, I have blonde hair, white skin, and a great job, a great future, and I am not going to jail. Sorry to rain on your hater parade. I did nothing wrong." Well, the justice system would seemingly disagree. She was sentenced to 60 days in jail, much to her shock, so to speak. And she will be also required to pay $1,500 in fines to the architect of the Capitol to fix the millions of dollars of damage that was done during said riot. So she released a statement talked to reporters saying that she's only going to jail because the media was out to get her, that they really just blew this out of proportion, and in no ways took responsibility for the variety of statements she made about how she wasn't going to jail and she was following her president. So she's off to jail. I'm sure she'll try to appeal it, but she's going to jail. As you may have wondered, I know you're probably wondering in there, did her real estate business take a hit being associated with an insurrection and one of the most violent demonstrations seen in quite a while in Washington, D.C.? Yeah, it did, and she had to get a GoFundMe page to help pay for her legal expenses. So, once again, real estate maven, but revolutionary amateur Jennifer Lee Ryan going to jail for 60 days for her role in the January 6th riot/insurrection/ trying to overturn the election in Washington, D.C. One of many quote-unquote patriots who realized that, you know what, maybe I might not have been getting the full story of what was going on here. So, enjoy jail. I am sure you will somehow turn into some wonderful grifting opportunity, run for a seat, lose, but seemingly keep all of the fundraising money. We now go from one giant Texas dud to one giant New Zealand spud. Yes, look at that transition. The world's biggest potato, named Doug, was found this week because it was dug up off of the ground in New Zealand. A 17-pound potato. Yes, that's right, 17-pound potato. Basically a sack worth of potatoes, or a small dog. A pretty big potato. The previous record was 11 pounds. So this potato shattered those records quite amazingly. Still need to do some confirmation and whatnot, but likely to be the world's largest potato. Dug up by Colin and Donna Craig Brown. They were weeding their garden in New Zealand when the Collins hoe struck something huge, and they dug it up, and it was a big potato. They thought it was some sort of fungus, but turned out to be a potato. It is huge. It's like the size of a small baby. It's not exactly in a classic oval-shaped potato. It's very large and bumpy. Kind of looks like a monster, but it is probably the world's biggest potato. They took it to a few people. Guinness World Records is apparently getting an application to be recognized as the world's largest potato. And according to Colin, he said, it's just a mystery to me. It's one of nature's little surprises. He doesn't have any sort of secret gardening tips. He says he just usually throws a bunch of cow manure and straw onto the garden and see what happens. They've been growing cucumbers in the area before the weeds took over and hadn't planted any potatoes. So the seed must have come from somewhere else or had been going for a couple of years. So they didn't plan to make potatoes or plant potato. They just sort of found one. Right now, the potato is in the freezer to be preserved in case people need to confirm its weight. He's not quite sure what he's going to do with the potato yet, but apparently he is an amateur brewer, and he's thinking maybe he'll turn the potato into a potato vodka. And I bet that bottle of potato vodka from the world's largest potato would fetch a fine price. Unless, someone else decides to buy it for a ridiculous amount of money. So, congratulations to Doug, as well as Colin and Donna in New Zealand for digging up the world's, currently not certified, but will be soon, the world's largest potato. Speaking of booze, there is currently a missing bottle of whiskey. Not in this house. All that is sampled and tasted frequently. But from the State Department, apparently a pricey bottle of Japanese whiskey gifted to former Secretary of State Pompeo is missing from the State Department vault. I didn't know that the State Department had a vault, but apparently they do. If as Secretary of State, if you get a gift from another nation, You just can't take that home. That goes to the State Department, and then they do something with it. I don't know what, but I don't know if they will re-gift it or break it out at holiday parties, but you're not allowed to take it. But this bottle, worth nearly $6,000, is apparently missing. It's a bottle of Suntory Hibiki whiskey, aged 30 years, also missing a 22-karat gold coin. Now, no one is saying that Secretary of State Pompeo stole the whiskey, or his wife, who was oddly heavily involved in the State Department. Wouldn't surprise me. The guy is a little smarmy. But the bigger story is that the vault and tracking system is a bit in a disarray. People just not very good at keeping track of things. Records show that there were 77 people who had entered the vault between the 3rd of 2020 and January 31st of 2021. And the total number of visits between this period was 3,051, with the majority of figures involving having left government positions by the time the investigation began. So lots of people go in and out of that vault, and they don't really keep good track of things. There was a bunch of things missing, but they were able to track most of that stuff down because it gets there, but it has not been marked as being received, or like records are not completely filled out. So they don't really have a very good tracking system there, apparently. But they can't find this whiskey or this gold coin. And they're trying to figure out where exactly it went. Obviously, the investigation is saying, you know what, guys, we need to have some better procedures here, because this is a bit of a mess. Yeah, so hopefully they find it. Or, some State Department employee walking through the vault and saying, who's going to miss this? I'll just grab this innocuous-looking bottle of whiskey. I'm sure it's worth, what, $20? Yeah, sure. Stole a $6,000 bottle of whiskey. Or it's, like, behind a stack of books. We'll see. So if I find out what happens, and if I can get myself a drink of it, which probably won't happen, I will let you know. But if you think that you can't find stuff in your house, the State Department has a really hard time keeping track of stuff in its gift vault, I guess it is. A gift vault? I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was kind of funny. Moving on to Michigan, some sad news. Barbara Rose Collins, Michigan's first black woman in Congress, passed away this week at the age of 82. She's a lifelong resident of Detroit who rose from being a single mother to serving as Michigan's first black woman in the United States Congress back in the 90s. She got her start in 1971, elected to the Detroit Board of Education. Then in 1974, the Michigan House of Representatives. Then in 1981, the Detroit City Council. Finally, in 1990, she was elected to Congress, and then served from 91 to 1995. At the time, she was attained the position of Majority Whip at Large, which is certainly a good position, significant position. And then when she went back home, she again served on the Detroit City Council from 2005 to 2009. So led the way, very much so, from Michigan. As a note, she also was arrested in 1994 while protesting with 5 congressional colleagues for the rights of Haitian refugees in front of the White House. And in 1995, she was a speaker at the Million Man March. So, former Congresswoman Barbara Rose Collins, Michigan's first black woman in Congress, passed away this week at the age of 82 due to complications of COVID-19. She was vaccinated, but she had advanced age and a variety of underlying health problems. And, vaccine's good, but certainly not perfect. But she unfortunately passed away. And then Bruce Simpson, her grandson, who announced her passing, is also on the Detroit City Council. So very much a continuation of the family being involved in the political process in the Detroit area. Speaking of politics, we're going to go to Buffalo, New York, where there was a election to be the mayor of Buffalo, a very contentious race, where Buffalo Mayor Brian Brown, who lost his primary to a lady named India Walton, who was a very progressive socialist candidate, managed to win the primary, but he decided he would mount a write-in campaign, and wouldn't you know it, he won. That's right. He was initially thought to be a long shot, but he successfully organized a write-in campaign, and it looks like he is likely to return as mayor. About 59% of the vote this past Tuesday were for write-ins. It takes a while to count through all those, but with 59% being write-in names, it's very likely he has won his job. He continued to be the mayor of Buffalo. Walton, who appeared on the Democratic line, she received 23,647 votes, and with 33,994 write-in votes, it does not look like she will win. Walton got a lot of high-profile endorsements from Bernie Sanders, Alexa Ocasio-Cortez, but Brown, the current mayor, is also the former chairman of the Democratic State Party, decided to do a write-in campaign and then appeal to moderates and sort of moderate Republicans in Buffalo, made Walton's socialism the main sort of idea of the election, and he managed to squeak it out. Now, write-ins are not, they usually don't win. Write-in campaigns can be very difficult. The last major write-in campaign that was successful, that I remember, was Alaskan Senator Murkowski, something like that. She lost her primary, decided not to go away, and mounted a write-in campaign, and then she won, beating the Republican nominee and Democratic nominee and an independent nominee in her election. I think it was, I want to say 6-ish to 10-ish years ago. But that's the last big write-in campaign where they won. As for myself, this past Tuesday, since we're talking about last Tuesday's elections, I served as judge of elections. Did a fantastic job, if I do say so myself. Turnout at my precinct was actually higher than the last two off-year elections. In fact, I think the turnout at my location this year was greater than the last two combined. My theory being, obviously a lot of people are very involved in like school board stuff, but my theory being that last year was so popular, everyone got involved, because last year turnout in my area was like 70, 80%. Everyone got on these mailing lists and these text lists, so they keep getting reminded that, hey, there's an election. There's actually an election every year, just so you know. It's not just even years where there's elections. There's elections on odd years, and so more people were reminded to go out and vote this year because they're on a lot of different mailing lists and whatnot. Actually, being a judge of elections, my position is elected, and I was up for re-election, and I mounted my own write-in campaign, mostly because no one else wants to do the job. Lots of times that position is appointed, and I think I've got at least half a dozen or so votes, so I shall be returning to my position, protecting democracy, twice a year. It's actually a pretty nice gig. I would highly encourage all of you, if you have the ability to take 14 hours off on a Tuesday twice a year, to assist at the polls. It's a very nice experience. You get to meet lots of people. You usually get paid for it too. Nothing fantastic. And you learn how the process works. And so when someone tells you that votes are being microwaved, beamed in from Bolivia to Pennsylvania, you can say, that's not how elections work, because I work elections. So, anyways, write-in mayor from Buffalo, re-elected. He will continue his job by mounting a successful write-in campaign. Now, if there is one person I would write in, other than myself, for judge of elections. Even my pal DC. Why, you ask? I'll tell you why. He is our in-house DJ here at AWSM Radio. And his show, DC, Live in Effect, mixes it up every Friday night at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss out while he smashes it on the ones and twos, kicking the beats from South Florida every single week. I mean, he should be a judge of elections down in Florida, do his DJ set while helping people to vote. It'd probably be the bangingest polling place in all of the Sunshine State. But until that happens, you can catch his music right here on AWSM Radio, Fridays at 9 p.m., Sundays at 10 p.m., DC, Live in Effect, right here on AWSM Radio. Going back to the elections, not that I'm going to linger on here too much longer, but I do like when there are firsts in anything, just like talking about the world's largest potato. I find that fascinating. Well, anyway, this past Tuesday, there were some other firsts of note that I think is pretty awesome. In Boston, the first woman and first Asian American was elected mayor, named Michelle Wu. Before Wu, Boston had only elected white men to serve as the top political office. In Durham, North Carolina, they elected their first woman of color, Elaine O'Neill, as mayor, which is pretty great. She ran essentially uncontested. She got 84% of the vote. In Virginia, which was quite a lot of news of what's going on there in between what's-his-face and the other what's-his-face. Fun fact, though, I find it funny that people are saying, look at Virginia, look, the Republicans won. This spells doom for the administration. Fun fact, Virginia has always gone to the other person, to the other side, in the first year of a new presidential administration, every time since, I think, the late 80s, early 90s. So, the only thing that was different this year is that New Jersey didn't flip. So, that's kind of what happens. But anyways, I digress. I find people making a hill of a mole hill annoying. But anyways, in Virginia, Republican Wissome Sears is projected to become the first woman to hold the office of lieutenant governor in Virginia. She is from Jamaica, a Marine veteran, and served one term in the state legislature. In New York City, Democrat Eric Adams is becoming just the second black mayor in that city's history. The first, David Dinkins, served from 1990 to 1993. Not exactly that big of a surprise, be it that Democrats outnumber Republicans 7-1 in New York. But, Rudy Giuliani and Bloomberg were mayor there, but things have changed a wee bit there. But not the only person to make history in that city. Alvin Bragg became Manhattan's first black district attorney. He will be overseeing a staff of 500 lawyers and taking over the probe of Donald Trump's family business. So that'll be interesting. Also, Shahana Hanif became the first Muslim woman to be elected to the New York City Council. She's a Bangladeshi American who previously worked for the council and represents an area in Brooklyn, which is pretty amazing. And also, moving along, in Pittsburgh, State Rep Ed Gainley became the city's first black mayor on Tuesday night as well. So congratulations to him. In New Jersey, multiple women running for the New York State Assembly made history on Tuesday. Ellen Park, who is Korean-American, Shama Haider, Muslim woman born in Pakistan. They both became the first Asian American women to win seats in the legislature, both hailing from the 37th district in the north part of the state. In Dearborn, Michigan, Abdullah Hamid, Democratic state representative, being the first Arab American and Muslim to be elected mayor in Dearborn, Michigan. which is, congratulations to him. And that pretty much wraps up all the notable firsts, at least in this article that came across my desk. So congratulations to everyone, Democrats and Republicans, for being those who became firsts, across the country. Not hard to be first, but someone has to be, and you were, so congratulations. Changing gears, we go to sports with some sad news, especially for probably some of my older listeners. ESPN Classic is being shut down by Disney on January 1st, 2022. Basically, it was a channel that showed old sports games and old sports documentaries, and it was one time a pretty big channel, but has been de-emphasized over the last decade. And ESPN/Disney has been allowed cable distributors to drop the channel so they can make room for other new ESPN channels like the SEC Network and the ACC Network, which I don't know what those are. I assume they are college football networks. Maybe. I don't know. It's not the first one to end at the end of this year. It will also NBCSN, which is another sports centric channel, will also cease operation at the end of this year. The channel originally launched as Classic Sports Network in 1995 and was acquired by ESPN. But it is now being closed down as they try to emphasize more varied networks. In a statement by Channel Sports Network founder Brian Bedell, he said, "It was an amazing team effort from a bunch of people who had no idea what we were doing. It was a great time in all of our careers and a testament on how the industry changed. Ultimately, Classic paved the way for non-ESPN league-owned sports networks. Long live Classic." So, yeah, there actually are, there's ESPN channels, but other sports organizations, many of them college sports, have started their own networks. I believe even like the Yankees, I think, have like their own network where it's like all Yankee programming and their games and programs and documentaries and old games and blah, blah, blah. A lot of content there. But anyways, for those who love the Classic, you still got 2 months to get it in, but it will cease operations January 1st, 2022. Well, if speaking of sports, if you missed it this week, and I know that I did, the Atlanta Braves ended a 2-decade dry spell and won the World Series, beating the Houston Astros on Tuesday, winning their first World Series title since 1995. I have to say, I don't really like the Astros or the Braves, but if I had to pick one to win, it wouldn't be the Braves. Not a fan. Not a fan of those Atlanta Braves. But they did win, and they had their parade on November 5th, which was yesterday. They are, started at noon. Did I watch it? No. I don't watch World Series parades. I barely watched the Phillies parade when they won. But apparently, at the concert, Ludacris and Big Boy had a concert there. The tickets were free, but I guess you could reserve them in advance. I guess. Sure, why not? And they're expecting it to be, it was apparently a very big parade. They had the presentation of the trophy, all the players did their thing, and they had their parade and the celebration, and people will say some things, etc., 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 whatever. But anyways, the World Series did end this past week with the Atlanta Braves winning their title after 20 years. Had the parade yesterday. If you're in Atlanta, congratulations, you no good Braves. But they won, and they also, I believe, I think I read they had the fewest wins of any winning World Series champion. So I guess I will tip my pith helmet to that, because that did take a bit of effort to win. The Astros heading back home. I think no one likes the Astros because they cheat? I feel like they cheat. They were there in the signal stealing scandal with them. I don't know. I don't follow baseball that much. I follow the Philadelphia Phillies, so once they start losing big, I lose interest. But I will always be a fan. I'm not a fair weather fan. I just pay more attention when they're winning, but by default, I support the hometown team. Now, since we're talking about sports, I'm doing my ads out of order this week. Mark the calendar, but this is just a perfect segue. I obviously am not a sports expert. Maybe that is a surprise to you. But the ones that are here. They're on AWSM Radio every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Married to the Game. It's AWSM Radio's radio sports show, and it airs here. It airs here every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Married to the Game. It's fantastic. You need to listen to Brian, Joe, and Mac Daddy. They're going to bring their expert insights about all things sports, even baseball, and give you their analysis of what's going on in the wild world of sports, plus, a little bit of trash talking here and there. It wouldn't be a sports show if there wasn't a little trash talking. So you need to tune in and catch up on all things sports. Follow them on Instagram. Joe at Turn Up the Jets, Nick at the Mac Daddy Ryan Show, Brian, who has the worst Instagram name because I have to say underscore, bolstered _up _sports, and then the show's Instagram itself, MTTG Radio, Married to the Game Radio. Follow them on Instagram, and then, of course, listen to them Wednesdays at 9 p.m., Married to the Game, right here on AWSM Radio. Next up, Tasty Cakes. So good. I love the crimpets myself. Well, if you've been buying some Tasty Cakes from Target and Walmart, you may want to check on the sell-by date because a lot of them being recalled over fears they may contain tiny fragments of metal mesh wire. Apparently, the Flower Foods, who makes these Tasty Cakes, found that some issues in the processing plant that makes them, that this little metal mesh started to fragment, and there could be little bits of metal pieces in these Tasty Cakes. They include the chocolate cupcakes, cream-filled chocolate cupcakes, buttercream iced creme filled chocolate cupcakes, and they all have use-by dates ranging from December 14th to December 21st. Very important if you've bought them in New York, Washington, D.C., Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware, to check to make sure that these aren't part of the of this recall list. So Walmart released a list of 500 stores where it was sold. Target confirmed the products were sold at stores, but not say where yet. And they're also recalling certain crimpet items that were sent through, that were distributed throughout the United States, having use-by dates between November 20th and December 8th. So it's kind of a big deal. It does happen sometimes. Good news is that they caught this. But butterscotch crimpets. Those I love those. Boy, that is pretty good. Yes, sir, indeed. But yeah. So also, like I said, butterscotch crimpets, cream-filled crimpets, and jelly crimpets with the sell-by rate between November 20th and December 8th should also be checked because there could still be some issues with those as well. Also in Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. So just keep an eye out for those. Keep it out for those. There could be some issues. Moving on to some sadder news. The man known as the Tiger King, Joe Exotic, revealed via Twitter statement that he has an aggressive form of prostate cancer. He's currently being held in Fort Worth, Texas at a federal prison, convicted in a murder plot against rival tiger zookeeper owner Carol Baskin. He was featured prominently in the documentary Tiger King, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness, sentenced to 22 years in 2020 for not only the murder for hire plot, but also violating a variety of federal wildlife laws. He ran a big cat rescue tigers, the Tiger King. He also ran in 2018 and Oklahoma governor. Well known for his expletive-laden rants on YouTube. And if you've not seen the Tiger King documentary, hoo boy, pull up some popcorn and watch the craziness of that. And apparently there's another season coming. Like there's a Tiger King 2, like another follow-up documentary about it. And I'm guessing it's going to be even crazier. But anyways, he says that he has an aggressive form of prostate cancer. He's asking for a humanitarian release. He was sentenced to 22 years, but a 3-judge panel in the 10th Circuit in Denver ordered he be resentenced to a shorter term, finding that the trial court wrongly treated the 2 convictions separately in calculating the prison term. So his range should be between 17 to 22 years, not 22 to 27 years. He, of course, denies all of his crimes. He says there's no evidence of them and that he was being unfairly prosecuted. There was a bit of a stir, thinking that President Trump would release him or pardon him from prison, up to the point where a limo was sent with hairstylists. Of course, he's very flamboyant. A limo was sent to the prison to pick him up, but no pardon came down the line. So he remains in prison. He had some very choice words about Trump as well. He felt he was being used by him. He's an interesting character, to say the least. But anyways, he remains in jail. Apparently has aggressive form of prostate cancer. See if he gets released or gets sent to a lower security prison to get treatment. And then the second Tiger King documentary is coming out. I will definitely watch it and let you know what I think of it. Now, speaking of kings, the queen of drive time home shows is my pal Rox, and she has the Rox Sessions. It's our drive time show here at AWSM Radio, and she, the queen of this time, will make sure your evening commute home, Her Royal Highness, has the hottest music on the charts and some other surprises in between. She will make it rock royally, rock style, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. here on AWSM Radio. You need to check it out. Rox is fantastic. She's my pal. She should be your pal. She should be your go-to royal queen of the home commute on weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. It's fantastic. So, listen to the Rock Sessions right here on AWSM Radio. Finally this week, we go to Iowa. Not for any sort of presidential election reasons, but deer, D-E-R. Apparently, scientists have found COVID-19 in the deer population out in Iowa. So that's cool. They're a little concerned, much like birds and pigs. These viruses hang out in those populations and kind of move around, mutate, pop out of these animals, and then cause a lot of problems by mutating and becoming more deadly. So we're not quite sure how COVID-19 got into the deer population, but they are tracking it, monitoring it to make sure it's not mutating, and will come out with some sort of deer COVID-19 that will turn people into zombie deer that will ravage the landscape and be on an AMC programming. So for you deer hunters out there, be mindful. Don't make out with deer or eat their raw meat. Handle things with gloves, as you probably should in the first place. But this is a concern, and they are now starting to look around at other deer populations to see how widespread this is. So, hooray! Things are going great. Well, my friends, that just about wraps up this week's Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Thank you for joining me here today. Remember, you can find me on the Twitter, on the Rizzle, on the Instagram, at Colt S. Taylor. For past shows, go to anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor, and you can listen to them there or subscribe to get alerted when I upload the podcast version of the show, usually on Sundays. And if you want to check out what I'm doing, also long-term, check out ColtSebastianTaylor.com. Hit me up, engage with me, let me know if you think there's a story I should be covering or a story that I've missed. and I'd be more than happy to track it down for you. Well, until next time, my fantastic, wonderful friends, I am, of course, as always, your swashbuckling rogue, adventurer, and entrepreneur, but more importantly, your friend, Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later.